Hello everyone, welcome back to again my YouTube channel to the Beyond of You. Again, I have sitting here for making out of a new story from the book of 11th class, and that book name is there Hornbill. Which topic about today? I have to recite the Beyond of You. That topic name is there the Portrait of a Lady. This is very interesting or very enjoyable story. The student who is reading in 11th class, first I would like to tell all students you must watch this video on and on till where that video will be made by me. Don't miss in watching. If you'll be watching to continue of this video, then really you will get many content from the part of this chapter, and if any question answer will be asked related from the part of that chapter, then you will feel to very cozy in solving of that question answer. Means you will not get of any hustle in your life for solving of any things. That's why I'm telling of you watch of this video till ends in English to English, and also you make very easiest of our communication skills for talking with each another person, because in this modern time I am looking lots of the students are muddled while speaking because they are not able to develop of their thinking skills. That's why with those people this kinds of the problem is acquired in those person's body, and they are unable to talk up any kinds of the things with any person in a fluent language. That's why I am telling of you have need to listen to every parts of that story sentences in English to English. From that what will happen, from that our English communication skills will be very great, and you will feel to very nice to talking too much anything in English with any person in your life. Then let me come on the point about that points I have to focus which topic about I am going to have the front of you. What is the topic here? The front of you, the Portrait of a Lady. This is the subtitle of that chapter. First all of you have need to understand what is the meaning of portrait. If it will be understood to completely part of portrait, then you will feel to very easy in understanding the content of this chapter. Portrait means what becomes, means the descriptions of a lady figure, and what is telling the portrait about of that lady. Now all of you have to know throughout this video. Then I am going to tell about of that. There is a Khuswant Singh, and Khuswant Singh had a grandmother, and that grandmother was too old. When he was about 5 or 6 years old at that time, as he had seen of his grandmother's body figures, just when he became at the age of 20 years, in the same figures he is looking of his grandmother. Means he did not see of any difference changing on the body of his grandmother. Means his grandmother was too old. And when the people looked at the way of Khuswant Singh's grandmother, at that time also all of the people started to think actually she is so old, and also she is also one day she had young. Also she had a son, daughter, and a husband. But when the people used to tell like this matter about of his grandmother at that time, Khuswant Singh did not believe these kinds of the matter which was told by any person, because he is telling to all of us it was very hard to believe one my grandmother means also one day she will have of a husband, whether a son or daughter, because she was looking to very naked body, and she was looking like a howling. Means her body was looking like a wrinkled complete part of the body of Khuswant Singh grandmother's had been wrinkled. Now he is telling also he had a grandfather in the previous time, but his grandfather this time he is not alive, but his grandfather was died, and the picture of his grandfather, it was hanging just above of the mantelpiece in dining room. When Khuswant Singh is looking of his grandfather's picture, then he is looking, he has worn a big turban, and his white beard has lolled on, and from that his chest has covered, and also he has one loose fitting clothes. Looking at that, also he is telling about of his grandfather's portrait. means also he was too old, means also there was not appearing, means also one day he had any son or daughter, whether also he had any wife in his life. Only he had children, means grandson or granddaughter, means like this he was appearing in picture. And now he's telling, actually my grandmother was loving to me very much, and always my grandmother you tell to different kinds of the games about which was played by her in her life in the past time. But when she told this type of the matter about of the game and all, at that time she was not good feeling to telling of that game matter the front of me, because she was understanding about of that is in the sense matter what to say the front of my grandson. That's why she was not wanting to tell about of her past matter which she has done in her life. But Khushwant is telling to all of us, I was taking to very interest to listening of that game and all, and that story and all which was told by my grandmother in the previous time. Means in listening I was not keeping to lack of any kinds of the things. I was taking to lots and lots interest. Now he is telling to all of us, when I was about 4 or 5 years or the 6 years old, at that time, my parents went away to city for living there, and my parents left to me to grandmother. And my grandmother always would wake up me in early morning, and after waking up to me, she just made me ready for a school, and she was taken away to me a school. Now, where was the school of Khushwant Singh? Here is telling that a school was attached with a temple, and always her grandmothers would chant the beads of rosary. Means always she was chanting rosary, and when she made ready of Khushwant Singh, at that moment she chanted of that beads, and just she was wanting to tell, means you learn of that chanting. But now Khushwant Singh is telling to all of us, but when my grandmothers told whether when my grandmother chanted of that beads of rosary, at that time I was not caring for learning, but I most liked of her voice for listening. But I was not keeping to interest for learning of any religious things which was told by my grandmother, which was said by my grandmother for learning related from the part of any religious and all. But when he went to school, at that time also he was going to a school to hugging in her hug, and she always carried him till a school. And where was the school? Just beside of that school there was temple, and he would sit in outdoor of that temple, and his grandmothers would sit inside of the temple, and she started to beads of rosary. She started to chant of God, and who was the priest of that temple? That priest started to teach of all children's alphabet, whether any chanting points. But at that moment all of the children were repeating of that which things was taught by that priest in that temple. And now also Khushwant is telling to all of us, when he went to a school, whether also his grandmother went to a school to taking of him, at that moment his grandmother would carry of night cooked chapati and all, which was made with ghee and sugar, and it was a stale. And after eating of that stale breakfast, also some parts of the bread his grandmother would carry in the school for giving of some village dogs, and all of the village dogs sat around of that temple. When our schools was living, then my grandmother would give of that steel chapati to breaking of that the front of the dogs, and the dog ate of that. Like this, many some years passed away. After that, when I became about 10 or 11 years old, then again my parents called off us in city for living there, and also I and my grandmother went city. When we both shifted in city, then I took admission in an English medium school, and which attachments was among both, means among of my grandmothers that started to become some uh, separations, because my grandmother was living with me, but my grandmother was not understanding of English literature and all, because I went in an English medium school, and when I came back to reading of that English from that school, then my grandmother would ask to me, what have you come to reading? Then I told, I have come to reading science, I have come to reading of more any subject. At that moment, just she was depressed and she was upset. To thinking of that, actually these kinds of the subject there is provided in that English medium schools. Also, if in that school there will be provided of one more subject about of Hindi, whether Hindu religious of books, then how will be better for the children for learning of Hindu cultural system and manner. That's why she was not helping of Khuswansi in that city, as she was helping to more and more in village. Like that, she is not helping of Khuswansi in that city, because in that city Khuswansi is reading of English medium books and all. That's why his grandmother was not understanding the literature of English. That's why she is not going to talk much the front of Khuswansi, and whole time she kept on passing of her time to driving of that revolving wheels, spinning wheels, and afternoon time always she would feed the some pieces of bread the fronts of a sparrow. And when she started to feed some pieces of bread of the sparrows, then thousands of sparrows gathered in my courtyard, in my veranda, and at that moment my grandmothers felt very enjoyed to feeding of those all sparrows, and also all of the sparrows would come to every day in my city homes, in my city courtyard, in my city veranda, and my grandmothers was taking interest to feeding to some pieces of bread of sparrows and all, and like this she was taking interest. And one day what happened to Khuswansi about that matter, he is sharing to all of you. Take care. He is telling to you when he came to home from the school one day, then one day Khuswansi is telling to grandmother what to say today. In my school there was provided of music class. Then just listening of this matter, she is depressed to thinking of that, my God, music class is not so good for a for gentle person. If any person who is reader, and for that reader persons there is provided of any music class, that's not good. So thinking of that matter, just she is upset, but also she could not tell of Khuswansi you do not read of that, because it was the desire of his father to read of English in the city schools. So she was silented and she was not sharing of more any kinds of the matter the front of Khuswansi, and only she kept once telling the bits of rosary, and whole time she kept on chanting of the gods, and she was missing lots and lots of the god to whole time. But when he passed of that higher classes from the city, then one day Khuswansi decided to go abroad for taking of more higher educations in foreign, and he had to go for 5 years. But now he is telling to grandmother, means I am to go abroad for getting of more any higher education. for 5 years. Then at that moment also, the grandmother of Khuswansi did not say of anything, but she was thinking of that matter. Actually, if I shall stop of him in this place for living, even if that is not suitable for me, and if my grandson will not be able to do of any great work, then actually his father will damned to me to telling of that. Means she loved to very much with grandson. That's why he could not eat and he could not do of any great work in his life. Thinking of these kinds of the matter, she became silent. And when Khuswansi started to go abroad, at that moment, just Khuswansi grandmother also is going the back of Khuswansi for reaching in railway station. And when she is going railway station for riding off her grandson in train, at that time she was going to also telling of that beads of rosary. Means she was going to chant of the god. When she reached in the railway platform, then just she is kissing on the head of Khuswansi, and she is giving to body language, let you go now. But who is the author here, Khuswansi, he is telling to all of us. Also, he was very upset to thinking of that matter. Means now my grandmother has come to me for following here, for reaching here. But when I will come back again after 5 years, then I will see again the face of my grandmother or not. Because his grandmother was so old. So thinking of that matter, also he is in serious mind, and he is gone to abroad. And after 5 years, when he is coming back again his city, then just also his grandmother again reached in the railway platform for getting him. And when grandmother got him again from the railway station, when he came back from the abroad for reading, then just for some time Khuswansi became to very happy to thinking of that. Means when I was going in the first time, at that time I was going to think of that. Now my grandmother has come here for reaching, and when I will come back again after 5 years, then again I will see of my grandmother's face or not. But today again I have seen of my grandmother's face. For me it is very happiest. And he came back to home. Which day he came to home, that day again he is looking the same condition which was being done by his grandmother, the same work she is doing. And when it became to evening time, then just Khuswansi is looking of some changing. Means just at evening time his grandmother called many villagers people, and she gathered in her courtyard, and just she said to taking off one torn tom tom, and she started to play of that. She started to tuck of that tom tom, and she started to sing. But Khuswansi had never seen to singing of his grandmother in his life. But today, as he is looking of his grandmothers to singing of any pasal, any hymns, then like this he had never seen. And she was fully excited to singing, and she was going to sing and sing. But Khuswansi was wanting to stop of his grandmother. Means you do not play of drum and all. If you play and if you sing like this, then you will be fallen ill. But Khuswansi was wanting to disturb her. But how he will disturb her? Because today she was in very excited minds for singing. And when it became the next morning, then his grandmother is fallen ill. When his grandmother is fallen ill, then just Khuswansi calls upon doctor. Then doctor comes and treatments to looking of her body condition. Then just doctor diagnosed to looking of her body conditions. Means she has only mild fever. I am giving some medicine of her mother. After taking of that medicines, she will be cured. I am telling of this matter just doctor went away to giving of medicine and all. And when it became about 8 or 9 o'clock, then just Khuswansi is looking some changing on the body of grandmother. Grandmother was indicating of Khuswansi means my time has over. I am not to stay till longer time on this earth. Today it is my last day. And talking of these kinds of the matter among of the family members, she did not talk too much and just she told to all of the family members, now I have to miss of the gods. And again she picked off the beads of rosary and she started to chant. And after some time, all of the peoples are looking, means that the beads of rosary it is fallen down. Then just all of the people knew that actually today grandmother has died. When grandmother is died, then all of the family members just are fallen down for some time in sorrow, in lamentations. Then her dead body is lifted down on the floor from the cot, and just all of the people started to for managing of that stretcher, for carrying of that dead body, for cremating in cremation salt. And till then also is looking when his grandmother is carried on the doom, on the bier. Then just all of the family members are looking in the home courtyard. There was fleet thousand of sparrows who would come to every day afternoon times for eating of anything. But all of the sparrows are sitting and they all are looking the way of grandmother. Today, they all sparrows are not doing of any activities. That in the previous time, those all sparrows would come at afternoon time, and all of the sparrows started to do some mischievings to sitting on shoulder of my grandmother, and also some sparrows would sit on the feet of grandmothers, and she would feed like this in her life. But today all of the sparrow also have come there, and all of the sparrow are looking the way of the dead body of grandmother. And today when like this condition saw through of my mother, then my mother brought some pieces of bread and she gave to crumbling of that. But today no any sparrow picked off any pieces of bread crumbs. When no any pieces of bread crumbs it was picked by any sparrows, then also all of the family members knew that actually now we all family have fallen in sorrow. Then also who was living with my grandmother, also they all have forbidden not to eat of any kinds of the things. And after that, at the evening times, here is telling the dead body of his grandmother that was taken away for crematings in graveyard. After that, in the next day when happens, then just the sweepers, a scavenger comes in the home of the writer, and which breads had been scattered on the courtyard, those all pieces of bread it was picked up by that scavengers, and that was put in a dustbin. This story is over there, my all 11th class students. The student who has heard of this complete part of that story, if you may have understood to completely part of that story, I would like to tell of you, please you like, subscribe and share. Again, I will visit in my next video. For till ends, bye bye, thank you.